My next guest has wooed women in fluent Arabic, French, English, Italian, Greek, Spanish and Portuguese. Imagine having your face slapped in 7 different languages. Ladies and gentlemen, Omar Sharif. Well, it's good to see you in London. Are you simply passing through?
Yes, I was just doing some post-synchronizing for an American television series I'd just done.
You travel a lot, don't you?
In the last 3 years, I've been traveling non-stop. I don't think I've been home for more than a couple of weeks. I spent these awful 27 weeks in Russia making what they call a mini-series, an 8-hour production of Peter the Great, The Life of the Tsar. And it was the worst experience in my whole life. I mean, it really was.
What was so terrible?
Well, it was very cold. It was the coldest winter, I think, in the last 20 or 30 years. That was last year's winter. And also, the food was terrible. I couldn't express myself. You know, you said I speak many languages. It's the first time I was unable to communicate with the people. I mean, I went to the restaurant at night, and they had these menus in Russian and English. And I said to the girl, the waitress, I said, the English thing. And she looked at the Russian translation. She said, "Niet." I said, "Niet." And there was nothing there. And I don't know if you know, this word "niet" is the most final thing you've ever heard.
No,
it's not like no. I mean, when somebody says no to you, you can say, well, now look, let's talk about this, you know, maybe. Niet is final. There's never any change.
It's like showing the wrong credit card.
Yes, that's right. Also, I was there for 27 weeks, and they have these very fat ladies who sit in all the corridors of the hotel. And every time you turn a corner, there's another one, so that she doesn't miss a thing on the floor. And you're not allowed any visits in your room at all. So I got hold of a translator and an interpreter, and I went to this lady. I said, tell this lady that I'm here for 6 months. That... I said to her, look, I'm now not a very young man, and I can do with just once a month. You can't expect me to spend 6 months with no sex life at all. And she said, "Niet." But you know, I got back from there, and I had to go to a health farm for a month because I was not well at all. And for the first time in my life, I had high blood pressure. I never had this before.
Clive, was this your experience of Russia?
I was scared more than anything because everyone works for the KGB there, and so I had a phrase ready in Russian. I learned a Russian phrase, which translated went, "It's no use torturing me. I'm only the Observer's television critic." A sort of magic charm that staved off evil, but it's kind of fun because it's a time warp.
Is it true that you're planning to come to live in London?
I'm thinking about it. I have a huge problem. My problem is this. I have an incredible housekeeper whom I've had for 18 years. And I live alone, and I'm helpless around the house. I can't do it in Paris.
Yes.
And this housekeeper, she only speaks French. And I really can't live without her. And so I've been thinking, if I get her to London, how's she going to get on? And she can't speak a word of English and all that. Mind you, she came here for 7 months when I was doing the play here, and she managed very well. What happened was all the people at Marks and Spencer's learned how to speak French. It's true. They actually did.
Why don't you marry her?
No, because that would ruin it all. She might leave me after. Now, it's a terrific relationship because it's all the advantages of having a perfect wife without the disadvantages. You know, there's no quarreling and fighting and discussing things and being unpleasant. She just does all the things that a perfect wife should do without any of the disadvantages. Sorry.
A rumble of discontent there. Jan is nodding in a vicious kind of way.
No.
Let's say your mother, if I may ask you about her, she has always been a strong influence on you, hasn't she? Is she still that?
No, yes, she is, very much. Yes, my mother decided, I think, when I was born, that I was going to be somebody very famous. She didn't know quite at what, but she decided that I was. And consequently, she brought me up that way. When I started writing my letters, we had to write them between 2 lines in these early days. And if my A or my B went a little bit over the line, I used to get a hiding, a beating. She used to lay me on the bed, take her slipper off, and give me a good beating. And I had one every day, because she always had something to beat me about. Because what she expected of me was perfection, which, of course, is impossible. And I think that it was a strong influence in my life, because when I started going to school, I wanted to be first at school, because I was afraid if I weren't, she would give me a beating. It made me very competitive.
She buys your clothes, I hear.
She does everything, yes. She's very proud of me. She goes into stores, shops, and she walks in and she says to all the people there, she says, "I'm Omar Sharif's mother." And she's surprised if they don't, you know, rush around and help her with what she wants.
If you make a bad film, does she smack your bum?
No, she sees everything with the eyes of love. I mean, the worst films I've made, and there are a lot of them, she loves. She thinks I was terrific.
She started you on gambling, didn't she?
Well, she did, because I never remember seeing my mother when I was a young lad, when she wasn't sitting at a gambling table. I mean, our apartment was like a casino. She was always gambling. I got up and went out to school. "Hi, Mum." "Oh, fine." She had a cigarette there. She was dealing. And I got back, and there she was, the same game with the same people, playing poker. She had to sell all her jewels, and she lost all her money gambling.
What a woman. Jan, are you a gambler? Do you like it?
No, not really. I don't dare. I think I might get hooked on it. But my little daughter is. Only once a year, on the Grand National. When she was 2, I showed her the list of runners, and the chubby finger went out. "That one?" I said, "Are you sure?" This was not this year, the year before. You'll remember this. And she said, "Mm-hmm." So we put on £3. She won 40-something pounds. It came up. So we tried her again this year. Didn't work.
That's dangerous. That early win is dangerous. The thing to have is an early loss, which tells you straight away that the big risk about gambling is you might lose your money. Or at the age of 6, I literally lost my marbles. A big kid called... I had a marvellous collection of marbles I inherited from my grandmother. You know, Connie agates, all these rare marbles, you know, little Chinese marks on them and everything. A kid called Laurie Ryan, who was dating up nothing except little clay dabs and things like that. He took all my marbles. He won them. And I went home to my mother and said, "You know, I've been robbed." And she said, "You haven't been robbed, you just lost." And I never gambled again until I made a documentary in Las Vegas a couple of years ago. And then I got the bug. I found that I couldn't go to breakfast without visiting the fruit machine on the way, you know. And I would never get to breakfast, which at that stage of my life was very important to me.
They position them, though, like that, don't they?
They
so
do.
You have to go through past them all.
Yeah. You get free drinks, that's right.
I did a film, a television film for CBS in Las Vegas about 5 years ago. We were shooting at Caesar's Palace in the hotel. And I was gambling all the time. I was at the table, and I said to the assistant director, "When they're ready, you just call me." And when they were ready, they called me, and I said, "I'll be right back, hang on." And I went and did the shot very quickly and came back to gamble. And at the end of the picture, I introduced the cashier to the producer of the film and said to the producer, "Well, the money, it's all, you owe it to them." I lost my entire salary. A lot.
And you didn't care?
Well, no, I didn't, because I was earning money easily. And I think that I gambled really I looked for the excitement, because probably I was bored with my work and bored with the parts I was playing and the films I was making. And I had no other way to get excitement or emotion. I wanted to take my mind off the silliness of the work. It was very silly. And at a certain point, about 5 years ago, I got so fed up with myself. I went through a very bad period. I didn't know what I wanted, where I wanted to go. And I suppose I was going through what is the equivalent for to the menopause, the andropause, I suppose it's called. And I got through that through sheer willpower. I mean, it was either letting myself become a bum and gamble and lead a dissolute life, or getting a hold of myself and doing something positive about it. And I think what did it was going back to the theater. It sort of rescued me. It made me excited and enthusiastic about my work. And my life has changed since then.
You've had an extraordinary career. You were once an international footballer as well.
Yes.
Are you still keen on the game?
I'm crazy about watching it. I can't play anymore. But I did play. I played against the first Hungarian team. And I played against Pelé when he was 19 years old. I played for Egypt for a year or two, and then I started making films, and I started smoking and drinking and going out, and that was the end of it.
Would you do anything to fend off the aging process?
No, I don't want to. I think that I'm enjoying my age. First of all, I'm starting a whole new career. I'm now looking forward to all the character parts that I've been playing, that I will be playing. I was never young, really, inside of me. I always hated leading young juveniles. I mean, I hated to be the lover in films, the young lover. I always, even when I was young, I wanted to be older, to play.
You're not just
older
rationalizing
parts. I'm
this.
not. I'm absolutely certain of that. I was never totally comfortable when I was a young man. And I'm totally comfortable now, finally.
And are the roles moving in the way you want them to?
Yes. I've done a couple of these miniseries for the Americans, and I've done a couple of plays for the BBC, which I enjoyed very much. And I'm hoping now, this year, to go back and do another play in the theatre.
Clive, do you care about moving on?
You mean, do I care about the male menopause, which you say has struck us both? Yeah. Well, in Australia, we get the male menopause over early. I had mine when I was about 20. And since then, I've got used to a life of good works. Yeah. Well, I enjoy growing older for several reasons. The main one is that I don't think young men are very interesting. Young women are interesting, but I don't think young men are very interesting. It takes a long time for a man to become interesting.
Well, Jan, I believe...
What do you think, Jan? Don't you find us older men interesting?
Oh, fascinating. Absolutely. Fascinating. What would you say?
And if Richard Gere walked in here, you wouldn't care a damn about him, would you?
No, Richard, oh, no.
But you have said... Oh, I read that you, Jan, have said that you want to be older and less pretty. You can't mean that.
Yes, well, now... Yes, I've been playing these young, innocent girls for a very long time now, and I think I'm going to come and join you and drink a bit of gin and have a rather good time and get a few wrinkles. And...
Omar, you say you like being this and you never felt young, but, I mean, that doesn't change people's attitude to you. Do women still pursue you?
I don't think... I never felt that women pursued... I mean, they never told me they were pursuing me. I never saw it from them. Otherwise, how could I avoid it all these years, getting married again or having a live-in girlfriend or whatever? I mean, I haven't, for 20 years, had a girlfriend, really. I've been out a few times, you know, with... But I never met someone who really was... I felt that I wanted to live with. And I think that if so many women were really after me, I would have succumbed somehow, because temptation is very hard to resist.
What has your great experience of women then taught you, if you indeed you admit to a great experience, taught you about the difference between the sexes? Which do you prefer?
Well, I would have liked to have been a woman. I actually think a lot more of women. I think that men are children. They never grow up. They're always 4 or 5 year old. There's no way that... I've never met a man who was really an adult in life. And girls are born adults. I mean, you see a little girl, 2-year-old girl. They put their arms around you. They say, "Oh, I love you, Daddy. I love you. It's wonderful. Can I have this, please?" Now, a little boy stamps his feet and says, "I want this." That's not that. I mean, he's not going to get it that way. He can't work it out that he's got to be more diplomatic, more clever about this. Little girls, they're born with that instinct. They know straight away how to deal with their dads and mums and everybody.
That's absolutely true. The things that you have been required to say on film, of course, you probably use in your private life, the same chat-up lines. year after year, millions of times?
Never.
Never, right.
I mean, when I meet somebody, a girl, it takes me about 2 hours to eradicate the image she has of me, which is totally wrong, and to get on a normal basis of relationship with someone that she gets to know me as I really am. Also, you have this reputation, which makes them expect some tremendous lover performance from you, which you're not up to, really. So you're terrified that she's going to think, oh, my God, I'm going to be with him. And then you say you're so terrified of letting her down somehow. That's paralyzing.
Yeah. Jan, you must have heard many chat-up lines. What's the most ludicrous or even the most regular line that people use with you?
I don't know, because I don't think I listen to sort of silly chat-up lines. I'm sure that most ladies here tonight would say that if someone came and said, oh, look, I've got my Porsche outside, and you'd go, and also if they said, oh, those blue eyes, I'd go, again, and
I bet you half of them would go if you said that.
I don't know, I really don't.
Your husband is not a man of many words. He's a writer and puts them down on paper, but he doesn't talk a lot, does he?
No, he doesn't say all those sort of things, thank goodness, because I wouldn't have taken any notice.
What about at the beginning? He doesn't say them now.
No, I even had to ask him to marry me. Here you are, see.
That's a girl I want to meet.
I was going to say, here I am.
I'm just a little catalyst here. It's wonderful.
I don't think a line works with any woman capable of spotting it.
No, it's right. It's true.
None of my lines have ever worked. Probably because I learned them too early. You know, I was heavily influenced by American television programs of the '50s, which we saw in Australia. Remember there was one who starred a guy called 77 Sunset Strip. It's before your time. It starred a kid called Ed Cookie Burns, and he sat in a Ford Thunderbird or a Chev Corvette, and he combed his hair like this and said, "Hiya, chick. How'd you like to take a 300 horsepower plunge into the landscape?" And I used this line. Yeah, I used this line. And but it didn't sound so effective because I was sitting on a bicycle. In other words, you've got to have, shall we say, the equipment to go with the line. You know? It's you can't come on as a big actor unless you're a big actor. You can't come on rich unless you're rich. And the best thing is to actually listen. Now, you already know this, and Omar probably knows it too, and I'm sure Michael does. But yeah, some young people out there, some young men out there, don't know this yet. The best thing to do is listen to the girl. Right? She'll tell you. All you have to do is listen. But guys spend so much time rehearsing what they're going to say that they don't listen. Sometimes she asks you in for...
I listened once. I had a girl. I was once in Dallas, Texas, in a motel. And at 4 in the morning, there was a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and there was this lady who was obviously visibly drunk. And she walked into the room, and she said, "I want to make love with you." And I said, "Madam, you have to go out. It's 4 in the morning. I'm going to call security, get you thrown out." No. So she opened her purse, and she took a gun out. And she cocked it, and she said, "Take your clothes off." And she was drunk, and I did. So I took my clothes off, and she said everything. So I went on till I was stark naked. And she lay on the bed, pulled her skirts up, and said, "Come and make love to me." And I said, "Madam, I would love to, but as you see, it counts." True story.
You should have simply said "niet," and I'll hear the true story after I've said goodnight. It's been very entertaining. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Omar Sharif.
Thank you.
And Jan Francis. And Clive Jones. See you next week. Bye for now.